Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you did enjoy the whole speech was presented by amazing, I think, like really influencers in our domain. First of all, I would like to thank you for your input. It was great, really great. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay. So where we go? I have a few set of questions, being honest. I hope it's not going to be so boring for you, to hear all of these complicated terms and terminologies, which is quite new nowadays. Gartner likes to speak about terminologists. I spent many years thinking about what's going to be next year. So this is the time when we're going to actually speak about Adobe Experience Platform. I will start with a strategic question, a business value question, which we are, I believe, interested to hear. What are strategic advantages does IAP offer over traditional CRM systems for enhancing customer experience as per today?
So, if we are speaking of AEP, then I would say it would complement CRM systems. So CRM stands for the Customer Relations Management Systems, basically how you interact with your customers. Then you have automated marketing, all of this stuff, please send these number of emails for that persons. And when we speak of the CRM systems, segmentations is a very important topic. So you would want to segment the data as granularly as possible and as soon as possible. For these two pieces, RT-CDP comes into play. It knows how to collect information and how to process information. And then, if we are speaking of Adobe, they introduced the connector of the second generation, which works with the Adobe Engage, which essentially is Marketo, another name for the Marketo. And so you can natively feed it with the data. It was released at the beginning of this year. Also, in Adobe, they have native connector for Adobe Campaign. And both of them make CRM systems. So essentially, this is the aim of Adobe company. They are building unified platform where every solution fits together.
Okay, I have a question here to go. Experience Platform, how do we integrate with CRM systems? Can you give us elaborate a little bit more about it?
Okay, so if we are speaking of the integrating systems, then there are a few ways. First of all, there are API, right? There are API endpoints where you can feed the information to these systems, but then they can work slowly. Then there are data streaming, and then there are native connectors. Native connectors, they're native. If they're built from the proprietary owners, then it means speed and reliability. Because if you are trying to connect two different systems together, you are relying on their ability to provide you good service, both of them. And then somewhere in between, there is a network issue. Because they're not exchanging data in the virtual space. It's the physical space. There are servers, and they have to work properly. So you have a lot of problems there on the technical level, unless it's a native connector.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, sorry to become a little bit more technical. It's just important things.
Can you give us a little bit more about success stories about it? Tell us about how Experience Platform actually contribute to the success of organization, companies who are migrating?
Well, truth be told, success is such a vague word.
Well,
I mean,
we're looking for one.
Speaking of business, how do you define success? And what is the input of this and that technology into the success, right? But there is a transformation. Say we know the customers that increased the way how they process data 3 times faster. And they shifted from having about 20 segments, I do not know the exact number, but more than to 50, which actually provides you with the level of granularity.
I see.
Yeah.
I have one more question compared to, just it comes to my mind. How do we actually integrate with existing digital marketing tools and platforms, Experience Platform, and also like Marketo, Adobe Campaign? Does it replace or enhance these tools?
It's a very good question. Thank you. So, if you are running successful enterprise, it means that you know how to process the data, that you have your business processes, they're aligned. You know how to collect the data, you know how to process the data, right? Then you have two options. You can rebuild the system from the scratch, or you can complement your current solution. Both of the approaches, it's heavily dependent on the situation. It's every customer has to decide for their own and how to build. It's not an easy task. There are architects for that matter, right? They exist for a reason. So, but you can either complement the solution or build from the scratch. And we basically witness both of the approaches. For the huge clients, the transformation right now is that big that one of the biggest, say, clients in the finances, they decided just to switch completely to the new system.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, thank you, Vladimir, for sharing such a lot of information today, which truly made my head spinning. So, yeah, I will try to not to fall it on my way to the hotel today. And yeah, my question, in your opinion, in which industry, for example, Adobe Experience Platform or real-time CDP can be the best solution to implement, and why?
Okay, good question. So business-wise, and if we are speaking of the industries, there are a couple of caveats that you have to be aware of. Well, businesses, they know, but say there is a HIPAA, which actually is the law for the healthcare. Because the idea that information is power, yes, we contemplate this idea for a time being, but nowadays it's pretty obvious that it's important to know of your customers as much as possible. And it's a pretty dangerous thing to have, actually. So it has to be regulated. But then, if it has to be regulated, then you have to look into the solutions that were built with the idea of regulations. So healthcare, yes, of course, because it's heavily regulated. Then there is a retail, because it's important for retail to understand human behavior of your customer. Then basically all of the huge enterprises that have to be in compliance with the GDPR. It's a law. It's just the point, of our discussion that may be pro and cons, not like that. We have a decision. It's important. You have to comply. So all of the huge enterprises as well. Then everyone who actually is interested with the real time. So yeah, a lot of them.
You just touch upon a very important topic, compliance. Here we go again, Can you please give us a little bit information or was the tightening of the data privacy regulations which are occurring currently globally? And how does the Experience Platform ensure compliance and data security?
Okay, yeah, good question. It can become a little bit more technical, sorry for this. So let's start simple. We have a data regulations, which basically means that the data has to be protected. You don't want to risk your client's information. Otherwise you will be fined and so on and so on. Your reputation can lose, and basically it's for the bad of the society to have the data breaches. Everyone knows that. So there are one recommendation, well, not recommendation, I'm sorry. This is just, it's a mandatory thing. Every data has to be protected from the scratch. You do not store unprotected raw information in your data system, not at all. Then there are 3 rights. I mentioned it before, but just let me repeat myself. So there is the right to share. If person addresses business to ask them what kind of information they store of this named person, business has to provide. And then they have to identify this information somehow first, right? Then the person can ask to delete the information, right, for deletion, and business has to comply. And this is not an obvious task to do, actually. If we are speaking technically, this is challenging. Third, this is the right not to be processed by artificial intelligence. Say I'm coming from the religious background, I do not trust AI, or I have any other issues. I do not want to be the aim of the automated decision-making mechanism. So, and the business has to do this. So there has to be an off button.
Okay. So in this case, can the organization control where the data
Yeah.
is stored in the
Yeah.
platform?
So how in AEP they approach this problem? Every time when you connect the data source, you mark it as sensitive or identifiable. So every source of information, every piece of information, it is properly tagged. So then if a person needs to be anonymized, which is basically making gibberish out of the record so no one would recognize it as them, the only respectful fields should be anonymized. Say your first name, your last name. Nobody cares how much kilograms do you weigh. This is not identifiable information because I and say Alexei can weigh the very same stuff, same weight, right? So it's not identifiable information, but our email addresses, phone addresses, first name, not last name. It's an important information. So AEP has to understand what kind of information is important. So then all of the information has to be properly prepared. All of them. This is why there are few different new occupations like data governor, data steward. These new occupations, they come into play, yeah.
Thank you. I learned quite a lot today, learning constantly.
My pleasure.
So implementation and operational considerations. I have a question out of this area. What are the key considerations for the businesses planning to migrate to large data sets to a platform?
Okay, if we are speaking of the migrations, there are a couple of points. First of all, you need to understand where you're heading to. Then you need to understand where you're starting from. I'm just speaking generally, right? You need comprehensive documentation on in which states your business processes are and what is your data, how you store this. It's not an obvious thing. I mean, coming to think of it, yes, it's just logical and reasonable, but a lot of businesses, and the bigger business, the more the problem. They do not know their internals at a meaningful level to perform a migration. So you need to have this. It's a good idea to have an audit, maybe. Then you will need to prepare all the data structures on the new database, new data structures. Because you need somehow to migrate the data, and it's never the case when they are identical. You just cannot transfer just huge chunk of information from one piece to another and leave it as it is. No way. There will be data transformation. So you have to prepare everything. Then there is a question of education. You need, I mean, it's not even a technical challenge. It's a challenge on the people level. New people that will be operating this new wonderful system, they have to know how to operate it. They have to understand this. So work fronts, it's essential. I'm sorry, not my native tongue. Then there is the roadmap. Then there is the management that you have. And lastly, but not least, you would want to have a consultant on board. Like us, maybe. Like other company, but you would want to understand what you are doing. I mean, you don't want to just dwell in the dark. You have to see the way, starting point and ending point. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned about future. I think we are all looking for the future. Yeah. And we want to know where it comes, but, we are guessing all the time. Here we go, and I want to understand as well how the platform can help handle the big issue, which is now currently talking in the market, deprecation of third-party cookies? And what kind of alternatives you as an expert can actually provide an advice offer for the data collection?
So third-party cookies and cookieless future, what essentially it means. Right now in the browsers there are so-called cookies that basically you can leave at the Gretel, you know, from this story breadcrumbs. You just leave in traces, which is essentially. And this is not secure, and the convention is that we have to get rid of them. Some of the browsers right now get rid of them totally. Chrome have not, but it's in the plan and it will happen. So what does it mean? It means for the businesses that they will not be able to collect as much information as before. And the information is meaningful. And we know that it's a cool stuff and we know that we need them. So how to collect the information, that is a challenge. Okay, you can try to collect information firsthand, meaning that you are asking your customer a lot of tedious questions. But it won't just work. You won't be able to collect as many meaningful values, data values, because nobody would want to ask you where have you been today? I mean, it's just unreasonable, right? But then there is a data enrichment. Data enrichment means that there are another sources of information, regulated, protected, and enormous. And they will be willing to share this information. Right now, how you say, there are companies like Demandbase that will be able to guess from what country this person originates, judging by their email domain or email name, the email address. Then there is another that infer in what country this person lives regarding their IP address, this kind of stuff. But this is the past century. Right now, these data sources will provide you with comprehensive, complete and fast amounts of information regarding your customer. So yes, AEP just connects to these sources of information, and this is it. You have to connect it, you have to configure it, label it properly, and stop worrying about that. This is how you collect information in nearest future. It will be happening next year. I mean, third party, they will disable it. This is just live with this idea. The whole internet, based on the idea of this cookies there, cookie here, it will just, it's an old paradigm. It will stop. Yeah.
No, sorry. The guy said we have a question from the audience. Can we please?
Yeah, sorry, I missed it. It will be great, please.
Hi, Piotr Siejczuk. Thanks for the session, Vlad. Before, I wanted to ask one question, but before that, this cookie-less stuff, I would have to double check, but I read 3 days ago that they actually moved it one more time.
Yeah, they are postponing to the next year. Yeah.
Even further, right? So let's see next year. They did it already twice or 3 times, whatever. You were talking about AI, right? I totally agree. It's the future. What my question is about, there's this phenomena about AI called hallucinations.
Hallucinations, yes.
What can you
Elaborate
tell
on
your
this
point of view? Share your feedback, just feelings.
Of course.
It is impacting. I mean, it's generating things. It can generate wrong things. So, what's your point about this one?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah. It is true that they have postponed yet again the cookieless future for the Google Chrome, but it only reflects the magnitude of the change, because it is so drastic. Because nobody just wants to live because we are not prepared. Business is not prepared, but it will happen. As for the AI, it's a very good question. Because basically the idea of hallucinations means that sometimes AI starts to imagine things, and their very likelihood. They seem like they are real, but they are not, right? So what can you do with this? Can you rely on the artificial intelligence? Just looking about half a year in the past, you know, seeing the generative AI, how it created pictures with the 6 fingers on them, and with the crooked smiles, with the wrong eyes, and how it advanced right now. So this is essentially, yes. You
started to put gloves on their hands.
yeah. Well, but you have to prepare safety rails. You have to be ready for the, you know, for the tests. You have to, of course, protect yourself from the stupid decisions, and for that you have to be able, even at least, to analyze the decisions, the strategies. Just treat them as a very proficient, very efficient, but a person, but who can sometimes be mistaken, as all of us. I mean, it's not a silver bullet, but it's very, very productive. Very. And yes, say maybe it extracts 4 data insights, and one of them is total BS, like not worthless, actually mistaken. 3 of them, still golden. And you can always check your data insight on the set of the data, and that way you will understand if this is the result of hallucination or not. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Can I have a follow-up?
Yeah, please do.
Or a similar. You know, AI generates things, content, images, videos, text content. What's your stand about the legal rights about that content being generated and the source of the data?
Yeah, good question. Me personally, I believe there is a market for this, and you know, like watermarks and everything. As I heard, Adobe as a company, they started their initiative for the legal issues, for these privacy issues, and for the generative. Yeah, so maybe they will move in these directions. I personally believe that it is a pain point, definitely, and there has to be regulations. Way many more regulations have to come over. I mean, many more. GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, it's just the beginning. Yeah.
More questions from the audience until I shoot with my last one.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's do it.
I didn't attend Adobe Summit this year, but I was listening to the sessions on the summit last year, and then a great story was about Adobe Firefly. So it's not an Experience Cloud, it's a Creative Cloud part, but it's interesting for me how this product will integrate with the Adobe Experience Platform, because it's actually somehow integrating and providing lots of content. Can you elaborate on that?
So, truth be told, I'm not really familiar with the topic. I know of the idea of the Firefly being integrated into the set, say that you will be able to prepare the pictures for the marketing. So you know, to send an email with this exact picture, or the picture can be personalized, or the pieces of content, any piece of content can be personalized using AI, namely Firefly. But for the Firefly, I do not have a solid evidences, as for me, but maybe someone else. Yeah, please do.
Firefly is integrated with Adobe solutions currently through GenStudio. So when you work with GenStudio, you build your audiences to build marketing campaigns for them. And Firefly helps to create this custom content for each individuals, for each marketing campaign, for each group of audiences. So it just helps you to generate content. It's integrated seamlessly inside. Okay, thanks.
I can also chime in. Yeah, so exactly like Vlad said, it's a part of AGO as well. So when you are creating an email, for example, you can just drag and drop image and type, I want smiling people holding phones, etc. In this image, it will be auto-generated, uploaded to assets, and you can reuse it. And the same with subject in emails and stuff like that. So it's already there.
What's Adobe stand like? The benefit, or kind of like, you know, I ask a question about the legal part of this generation of content, right? Firefly is generating images based on Adobe images and stock, right? Which Adobe has the rights. So Adobe at least is not having issues because they're using data source that they own, right? So in that sense, it's basically okay to use it, to put in emails and so on. No one should basically bother to ask you a question, do you have the rights for it? And maybe just an extra thing, because we were talking about the Adobe Experience Platform. I mean, I'm not sure if that's officially in the roadmap, but I see a huge option to use this, or it's going to happen sooner or later, that Firefly is going to be used for some content generation for Adobe Commerce in terms of product images or some, visualizations of the products. You're going to just provide the source.
It just makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna put you like, you have a product and you will tell them, put this product in this or that room, or I don't know, in this or that environment, and it's gonna generate that.
No designers needed.
Yeah.
It's just creating an email template.
I've seen that happening. Graphical designers are starting to lose their
it's breathtaking. And
their
developers, designers, who is next? Yeah.
Okay, this is the last call for the questions in audience. Do you have anything else to add? Anyone? I do see you have lots of questions to us, but we're also happy to address them later on.
Yeah. So maybe last one, right?
Okay.
Vlad, question about generally extensibility of Adobe Experience Platform or Adobe Commerce webhooks approach that Adobe is starting to push more towards their solutions, or generally the Adobe App Builder. Do you have experience with that part?
You mean building webhooks to interact with another applications?
Yeah, so instead of basically customizing applications in their source, there are so those webhooks that you can use instead, and use the webhooks and Adobe App Builder, Adobe I/O, and this kind of things.
Just for the general audience, the webhooks is just requests that can be sent from within the Adobe application to the third party and get a meaningful response. But then, with respect to this response, you can either choose to act or not to act, and so on. In a way, it's just the extension of the features. Say, if we're talking of the Adobe Marketer, it can do a lot of stuff, but then there are certain technical limitations. And then if you would want to broaden the features of the marketer or campaign or whatever product, you would want to use maybe complementary third-party servers that will work with them. But then not always you would want to initiate the data exchange process from these third-party servers, which is essentially a REST API, right? They are built for these purposes. So then webhooks come into play. And you can start making Adobe Campaign, Adobe Marketer, any other products to call external products, and that way provide extensibility, which is actually quite a cool feature. I have my doubts, truth be told, for the huge amount of data. From my experience, it's okay to send hundreds of thousands of requests per day, but I'm not sure about the millions of tens of millions. So the extensibility here, the magnitude, I just don't have hands-on experience of that level. But I would very much want to try it out, actually. And I believe, we are facing, right now we're moving in the directions of the huge, enormous data exchanges processes. So all of the data, it will be exchanged at a huge level. So yeah.
Thank you for all of your questions. I would like to address about we are in the time of transformation. We are a time of a huge change. We understand the future is unavoidable. And probably everybody wants to see your point of view, maybe based on some kind of examples, how actually all this real-time data is going to transform different industries, in particular focusing on marketing.
So you've heard this quotation from the CEO of Adobe, that before now we were able to witness and analyze the user behavior and to act accordingly. And in the future, in the near future, we will be able to anticipate their needs. And this essentially can happen and pretty fast. So, basing on your behavioral patterns, the system, modern marketing systems, will be able to identify your needs before you actually know by yourself. Because we know that, say, male of the certain age living in the certain area with a certain income, when they pass through, say, wedding right now, maybe they're interested in the credit line or whatever. And then we will provide them with this opportunity. And there are a lot of business opportunities that can be found, because this is just a revelation of the modern era. We are not that complicated as human beings. We are not that complicated. There is a kindle of godlike power inside of us, but very, very deep inside. Because large language models, they can act pretty much like humans with all the passes, the pretty same faces. So we are predictable. So yeah.
Good to know that we are predictable.
We
I really don't think so too much. But okay, I cannot argue at this point. Thank you for sharing your experience, your knowledge, contributing to the discussions. I really learned myself personally from you a lot about all dimensions of the business, business value, operational, technical, compliance. I think the future is in front of us. We are getting there, and we will be prepared.
Let us be prepared, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be prepared.
At the end,
Thank
we
you
are
for the
IT guys,
discussion
right?
and your time.
Thank you.